welcome here to Superpowered Pop with Dan Tortora. Happy to be here with you, hanging out here in the Parker Banner Kent and Wayne studios. That's right, Parker Banner Kent and Wayne is our comic book and gaming shop of choice when it comes to comic books of new and old, as well as all those gaming needs. We head to Parker Banner Kent and Wayne, our exclusive studio partner for Superpowered Pop, located on 21500 Catawba Ave, Suite A in Cornelius, North Carolina, just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. And of course, you could see the first family behind me. You could see that we have Richard, Storm, and Grimm for all the names. Of course, Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, the man who can make his body elastic. And then we have Sue Storm, Invisible Woman, Johnny Storm, Human Torch, and Ben Grimm, the Thing. That looks like a big, giant rock. And today, we got some awesome footage ahead of the big game. Because normally we see these big old trailers come to us right before the big game, or pardon me, in the big game, during the big game. Well, this time around, we're seeing this happen before the big game. So pretty awesome, pretty cool, very exciting, and I'm very much looking forward to this and being able to bring this to you here on Superpowered Pop. This means the world to me that we get to do this show here with you today and that we get to have some fun here and have this conversation on Superpowered Pop. Again, so excited that we got to see a preview for a little teaser trailer for the Fantastic Four. This is the first MCU crack at this and giving us the Fantastic Four and their movie, their rendition of it, which is called Fantastic Four First Step. So it's our first opportunity to see the Fantastic Four, Marvel's first family, coming to us from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because we haven't seen it from the MCU before. We've seen different iterations from 20th Century Fox, and now, obviously, with Fox being bought out by, well, a lot of pieces of Fox being bought out by Disney, we now have a bunch of these properties here inside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Doctor Doom, the Fantastic Four, the Silver Surfer, Galactus, all of these outside of the world, bigger than the world, universal beings, so to speak, multiversal beings. So they're all involved now, as well as the X-Men and Deadpool and All Mutants, the Brotherhood, everybody. So really cool to get to see this, and I'm really looking forward to bringing this to you and having some fun with it. So very, very much looking forward to our conversation today as we get to have it here on Super Powered Pop. So as we have this conversation with you on Super Powered Pop, I look forward to connecting with you and talking about a lot of different things. We're going to go through this teaser trailer into what we saw within it, and we're going to break it down by the different pictures that we have seen. So I'm going to start with the first picture here. I broke down and had a bunch of still shots here. As you know, when we're showing footage and whatnot, sometimes that stuff gets flagged because you don't have the rights to use this footage and blah, blah, blah. Even if you're breaking the footage down, sometimes you get put in a situation that's not the greatest. So in order to alleviate ourselves from being in that situation, we took still shots of the teaser trailer so that we could break it down just like we would the video, but we're going to be showing you in pictures instead of in video form here within this video. So we thank you for being here and thank you for hanging out with us here on Super Powered Pop. And with that being said, it's time for us to break this down and really get a good hard look at what's going on inside of this trailer, this teaser trailer. So this is the first thing that we see. We get to see the Baxter Building. We hear Sue Storm welcome us to the Baxter Building. She's showing somebody the Baxter Building. We could see that this is in New York City, and this movie has been said to take place in an alternate universe than Earth 616. So we are not getting the 616 Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four here are coming to us from a different universe and this universe allegedly may be gobbled up by Galactus. We'll talk about Galactus in just a little bit here on Superpowered Pop. But as we look at what's going on in here, it was nice to see the skyline here of New York City, the Baxter Building, just absolutely beautiful. So we see that first, and then we hear the family talk about inside of this Baxter Building, and this is a look from the outside of the Baxter Building of this teaser trailer for the Fantastic Four First Steps. In looking at this from the outside, we see this beautiful building. This is, again, set back in the 60s. That's when we first got the Fantastic Four back in 1961 in the Fantastic Four #1. So sometimes characters appear in editions of comic, and somebody else's, like the first appearance of Black Panther came in the Fantastic Four. So sometimes we see those appearances of characters within somebody else's comic book. Sometimes the first appearance of a character or characters are in their own comic book. In the case, the Fantastic Four that came to us in 1961, Fantastic Four #1 here. And so taking place back in the 60s in the comic book where we first saw him, 61, we're taking a look at this Baxter Building. Then we start to have the conversation from inside of the Baxter Building, and we hear from Reed Richards that they, no matter what, whatever's going on, they always have dinner they're always around the table together every night at 7 p.m. And so we see Ben Grimm here, aka the Thing, tasting the sauce that is made by the family's robot helper here, the robot assist that they have. And so this new look at Ben Grimm is very, very much what we would anticipate seeing. This is very comic book-esque. So I got to give it up to everybody working in the MCU and the character generation and bringing these comic book characters from the page to the screen. We've seen the Thing in different iterations, like I said, with 20th Century Fox and then a movie before that. This time around, we are seeing this rendition really stay true to what we see in the comic books for Marvel. So seeing Ben Grimm here, seeing the Thing here, we could see his unibrow, so to speak, and this very much looks like him from the comics. So as soon as I saw this caught my eye, and I said to myself, right, this is really cool that we're getting a comic book accurate Thing here. He's trying the sauce made by the robot Herbie, and when he's trying this sauce, we see him, right here in this picture, put some sauce on his finger. What I took away from this, for those of you that have seen the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle live action films, is this kind of reminded me of that. It's how, to me, the way that the Thing just kind of seeing the movement of the mouth and whatnot, it reminded me, the bodily movements and just the way that this character comes to life on the screen, and albeit we see him for a short time, but it reminds me of those newer Ninja Turtle movies, of how the turtles appear on screen and how they talk. So it was reminiscent of that. For those of you that like those turtle movies, then you would like this. For those of you that don't, then maybe it sticks out to you and kind of rubs you the wrong way. But when I saw him talk and just kind of saw this character come to life, that's what came to mind, was these newer Ninja Turtle movies. So once again, this is a very comic book accurate Thing, aka Ben Grimm. Then we get to see Herbie. So we see Herbie here. Some think that Herbie's going to be bad. Herbie's going to do bad things. We don't know what Herbie's going to become. But Herbie is the robot helper here for the family, a fictional robot that comes to us here and initially conceived by the Fantastic Four. It stands for Humanoid Experimental Robot B-Type Integrated Electronics, or Herbie, which is an analog computer with artificial intelligence who assists the Fantastic Four while they go on adventures, warns them of impending danger, and babysits their children when needed. So is Herbie going to be the one to warn the Fantastic Four of Galactus and or the Herald of Galactus, the Silver Surfer. So, Humanoid Experimental Robot B-Type Integrated Electronics is what the acronym Herbie stands for. And Herbie has artificial intelligence. And so we're seeing back in the 60s, in this alternate New York City, in this different universe within the multiverse that's not Earth 616, we're seeing artificial intelligence. And kind of interesting here seeing that on the screen as we're seeing more of it in today's America. The next thing that we see that I wanted to really take a look at here, this reminded me of the opening of realities when we have the spell that's cast by Doctor Strange in order to help Spider-Man, and the rift that opens here as they're trying to protect everything. That's what I know it's not purple, but that's what this reminded me of. Just seeing how we're going to see the MCU kind of deal with multiversal things. Is this Galactus coming in? Is this him coming into Earth's atmosphere, which is effectively affecting Earth's atmosphere? And we're seeing, I mean, because essentially, as you look at this here, it looks like meteors are coming toward the Earth. So is this him? Is this him entering Earth's atmosphere is the question that I had to myself. And then we see this, which is really cool, a reminiscent of the little kids that dress up like Spider-Man. So this is really, really cool that we get to see again. We're seeing, because think about it, we're not just seeing the Fantastic Four for the first time. We're seeing them in a different universe in the multiverse that's not 616, and we're seeing them set back. We're here in 2025, and remember that the MCU is a little bit ahead of present day. So we're here in 2025, but the Marvel Cinematic Universe, after Endgame and all of that, has gone beyond the present day for us. So it's a little bit in the future of what we're actually in real life, in real time, right now. So to see a movie that sets us back here in the past and goes back to the 60s, really cool to see that even back then here, we had some cool technology. And you could see that these Thing masks actually look like they have some type of technology to them. They might just have some reflective pieces here. But you see all of these kids are fans of The Thing, which is really, really cool to see because that's not something that we have seen in other Fantastic Four movies. So we see the kid in the front here that is dressed up in a Fantastic Four Thing costume with those fake muscles. And then we see Thing t-shirts. And then we see one of the children with the mask not on his face. We see one grabbing at it and we see one lifting it up. And we wonder, are these kids lifting up to see what I just showed on the screen, which is something that is essentially coming into Earth's atmosphere, and is it Galactus? And then we see Johnny Storm here. This could be a moment where he, because remember in the Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer, which was Fantastic Four 2, when we had Jessica Alba and the crew and Chris Evans and whatnot, they were a part of that original group. So in that Fantastic Four 2, Rise of the Silver Surfer, this is when we see Johnny and the Silver Surfer go back and forth. Johnny's trying to chase down the Silver Surfer to find out who they exactly are. The Silver Surfer grabs Johnny by the neck, brings Johnny up out of the Earth's atmosphere. Johnny's light flickers of, obviously this human torch that he is, and eventually the Silver Surfer lets him go when his power to be this ball of fire and essentially fly and go through all of the Earth while he's on the Earth's atmosphere, to be able to fly within his powers and to just be this flying ball of fire, that once he gets to a certain point he loses that. So is this picture Johnny testing himself? Is this Johnny going as far as he can out of the Earth's atmosphere to see when he's unable to use his powers? Or is this reminiscent of Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer, where the Silver Surfer brings him out of Earth's atmosphere and then drops him to his potential impending doom? And remember, in this movie, and we don't see the Silver Surfer in this teaser trailer for Fantastic Four First Steps, but the Silver Surfer we're going to get in this one is Shala Ball. And Shala Ball is not a fake Silver Surfer. It is not taking Norrin Rad, the Silver Surfer we know, and gender swapping from male to female. Shala Ball is from Earth 616, and she does become a Silver Surfer. And so I want to give a little background on Shia LaBeouf for a second here as we're breaking down this teaser trailer for Fantastic Four First Steps. Now, Shia LaBeouf lived on Zenla, nestled in the Deneb system of the Milky Way galaxy, which is our galaxy. That's where Earth is. So she first encountered Norrin Radd in the depths of his mourning after losing his mother. Following Zen Lavian tradition, she extended companionship to the grieving child. However, Norrin's initial response was of cold indifference, refusing even the simplest of greetings before walking away, leaving Shia LaBeouf perplexed and saddened by the detachment. He ends up falling in love with her, though. Norrin falls in love with Shala, and one day Norrin confided his dreams to his classmates. He longed to journey among the stars. Instead of support, he faced ridicule for what they deemed foolish aspirations. Only Shia LaBeouf stood by him, unwavering in her belief. She stood by him as he dreamed about the future. They secretly shared their first kiss in his parents' gardens. Over the years, their relationship remained strained as Norrin immersed himself in his pursuits, prioritizing his work over his affection for Shia LaBeouf. And despite his efforts, Norrin struggled to convey his love to her, as his actions often spoke louder than his words, which is true in life. And while she perceived the depth of his affection, it was eclipsed by the weight of his other responsibilities and priorities. Even in the aftermath of Norrin's father's tragic death, Shia LaBeouf remained steadfast by his side and stayed committed to him. So, now their bond faced a test when Galactus, the devourer of worlds, who we know is going to be in this movie, descended upon Zenla, threatening its existence. In a selfless act, Norrin Radd volunteered to serve as Galactus' herald in exchange for sparing their cherished planet. Bestowed with the unfathomable power of the cosmic power, he transformed into the enigmatic Silver Surfer, a decision that would lead to his prolonged separation from Shia LaBeouf. She mourned for her love, believing that she would never see him again. Now, the Grand Master dispatched the Hulk to enlist the Silver Surfer, recently altered by Galactus. Just as Shia LaBeouf bid farewell to her beloved, the Hulk intervened, seeking aid for the Grandmaster's contest. The timeline converged again as Doctor Strange and Baron Mordo engaged in aerial combat on Zenla outside Shia LaBeouf's window, much to her confusion during this time. Now, in the Earth year 1947, a cataclysmic event unfolded, and the entity known as the Other went to Zenla. With unfathomable power, they raised every living soul and structure upon the planet's surface, indiscriminately snuffing out the lives of beings. Shia LaBeouf was on the world at the time, dying amongst the screams of her people. This devastating onslaught left Galactus, the cosmic devourer, and his herald, the Silver Surfer, in a state of shock. After the destruction of Zenla, which was spared by Galactus, Galactus found himself severed from his bond and word with the Silver Surfer, his most trusted herald and indispensable guide to the planets. So, rich with life, the very sustenance that Galactus needs to survive. Now, realizing the gravity of losing both his herald and his primary source of sustenance, Galactus resolved to wield his immense cosmic power to reshape reality itself. In an awe-inspiring display of cosmic might, Galactus embarked on a monumental endeavor to resurrect Zenla from the ashes, restoring every facet of its existence down to the most minute details, ensuring that not even an atom remained unaccounted for. This resurrection included the Surfer's cherished companion, Shia LaBeouf. He erased his memory, and they continued their never-ending journey to feed the Devourer of Worlds. Now, Mephisto, who was finally brought up in the Agatha All Along series, the Agatha Harkness series, Mephisto crosses in this. Now, in time, defying Galactus led the Silver Surfer to exile on Earth, and sensing his torment, the demon Mephisto sought to manipulate him using Shia LaBeouf as a pawn. Mephisto promised to reunite her with Norrin Radd if she obeyed him, leading to her journey to Earth. Amidst the chaos caused by the Surfer's actions, Shia LaBeouf's ship was damaged. She was gravely injured. The Surfer revived her, but Mephisto intervened and whisked her away. So there's a lot to follow here inside the Parker Banner Kent Wayne Studios, giving you some background on Shia LaBeouf from the comics in Earth 616. So, The Surfer did revive Shallabal. Mephisto intervened, whisked her away. In Mephisto's underworld, he aimed not just to kill the Surfer, but to enslave him. The Surfer, however, confronted Mephisto, refusing to succumb to his temptations. Despite Mephisto's acts and attempts to control him, the Surfer's purity ultimately forced Mephisto to release him. So, she and the Surfer... Well, looking at this right now, Mephisto's scheme was foiled, but his desire to conquer the Surfer remains unabated. Mephisto later used illusions of Shallabal to torture the Surfer's dreams. So, a lot of different things going on here. Mephisto returns. Mephisto allows the Surfer through the galactic barrier and return to Zenla, but is shocked to find that his beloved Shallabal has been captured by Mephisto. Returning to Earth, the two engage in an intense battle that attracts the attention of Nick Fury. Mephisto told the Surfer that no longer he resists him, the more the longer he resists him, the more Shallabal will suffer. The Surfer agrees to do the bidding of Mephisto in order to save Shallabal, and Mephisto orders the Silver Surfer to destroy S.H.I.E.L.D. so that Shallabal may live. Prior to complying with Mephisto's demands, the Surfer endeavors to locate Shallabal's whereabouts. Frustrated by his inability to find her, he reluctantly concludes that he must confront S.H.I.E.L.D. to rescue her. Despite S.H.I.E.L.D. thwarting his initial assaults, the Surfer discerned Mephisto's sinister intent to manipulate him into inadvertently harming Shallabal. Realizing this deception, the Surfer redirects his fury toward Mephisto. Back and forth, back and forth. And then we know that Dr. Doom is involved. Shallabal was dropped in Latveria by Mephisto in the care of Dr. Doom. So we know that Doom is here. Doom erases her memory, changes her name to Helena, leaving her loyal to him. He contacted the Surfer with an ultimatum to annihilate the Fantastic Four or risk never reuniting with Shallabal. Despite his remorse, the Surfer reluctantly prepared to carry out Doom's orders, leaving the heroes cornered and facing imminent destruction. The Surfer, unable to directly confront the Fantastic Four to liberate Shallabal from Dr. Doom's grip, instead ensnares them in a trance and delivers them to Doom's doorstep. Although they manage to break free from Doom's confinement and dismantle his Doombots, it becomes apparent that Doom's true intention was merely to stall them. His ultimate aim is to harness the Surfer's power cosmic, allowing him to fashion a duplicate capable of annihilating the Fantastic Four. Dr. Doom successfully transferred the Silver Surfer's cosmic power into a newly constructed android and swiftly dispatched it to attack the Fantastic Four. And meanwhile, the Surfer is trying to get Shallabal's memory back, reminds her of their past together. Though she recalled the name Norin Rad, she also recollected being a humble villager before Doom ensnared her in his machinations. And so, a word I've never seen before, realizing her altered state, the Surfer hastened to aid the Fantastic Four in combating the cosmic power Doomsman 2. With his assistance, they vanquish Doom's latest creation. As the heroes depart from Doom's fortress, leaving her behind, Mephisto observed from the shadows. So there's all this stuff going on. So there's a lot of history, and this history goes on and on and on and on. So it's just crazy here to take a look at all of this. Now, she did have the power cosmic. She possessed the extraordinary ability to rejuvenate Zenla's fragile ecosystem merely with a touch, ushering in lush new plant life wherever her footsteps tread. Through the mastery of the power cosmic, she could project a telepathic distress signal spanning the expanse of the universe, reaching out to other cosmic entities, notably the revered Silver Surfer. Alternately, she could channel this cosmic force through Zenla's verdant flora to establish contact with beings intricately linked to plant life. Despite her incredible powers, the cosmic energy that once empowered her gradually waned over time. So she did have the power, and she does become the Silver Surfer. So, I mean, we just see that there's all of these characters that want to use the Silver Surfer or use Shallabal in order to make the other one do something, right? Be it Galactus, be it Doom, be it Mephisto. They're all using this love between the two of them as a way to carry out their terrible bidding. So these are, just looking at all the stories here and all the pieces of this. Adam Warlock is involved in this and whatnot, and the Infinity Watch and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of things that go into this. Shalla-Bal actually was in a relationship with Fenrirad, Norrin's half-brother, and later confided in Norrin that despite her appreciation for his heroic deeds, she desired a partner who could be present to share everyday moments of life with her. So there's also that she gets involved with his half-brother. So Shalla-Bal, she's got a long history here in Earth 616, and that history includes her planet Zenla. It includes Mephisto, Doctor Doom, Galactus, so many different things here, and Fenrirad, Norrinrad's brother. So there's a lot that goes into all of this, and just pretty crazy to take a look at this history, because Shalla-Bal is a character that I didn't know. I didn't know this character when I was reading comics growing up as a kid. It wasn't something. I mean, I knew of the Fantastic Four, but I didn't know to this extent these characters, and I knew who the Silver Surfer was, but Shalla-Bal I did not. And so the fact that we're going to see her is pretty interesting here. In the Silver Surfer #1 in 1968, that's when she was introduced as Norrinrad's lover. And so this is going to be interesting to see why she was chosen, because if it is true that this is going to be an Earth that dies, an Earth that does not survive, an Earth that is essentially devoured by Galactus, then Shalla-Bal, what she becomes, why we see her, does she get defeated? So Norrinrad, I feel like we're going to see at some point. I'm not worried about seeing Norrinrad, the Silver Surfer that most have come to know. That's not something. I'm not saying that seeing a female Silver Surfer in Shalla-Bal that we're not going to see Norrinrad himself. So that's just something to pay attention to, that I think people need to take into account here, that are kind of, upset and saying, I want to see the Silver Surfer that I'm used to seeing. I want to see the Silver Surfer that I'm accustomed to. I don't think that we're going to lose the Silver Surfer here from the one that we anticipate and are hoping to see. I don't think that that's going to be the case, that Norrinrad's not going to show up. And of course, she's his love interest. So this makes sense that somehow, some way, they're going to connect to each other. Does she survive this? Does she try to fight Galactus? Does she have a change of heart when he goes after this Earth that's in a different universe than Earth 616? Does she somehow die amidst all of this? This is going to be the question here, is what is Julia Garner, who's playing the character Shalla-Bal, what does she become? Is this the Silver Surfer that we see in the MCU that dies and then we see Norrinrad? Does her death bring us Norrinrad? Is that the rift that goes through the universe? Is that he is because she can send out a distress signal? Does she send out a distress signal to Norrinrad in this movie that eventually brings us to him, or him to us? That's something that's left to be seen. So now, just going back here, and I mean, the comics are beautiful of seeing the two of them together, actually. And in this version of the story, it seems she's the one who makes the bargain with Galactus, potentially. It's she who becomes doomed to seek out other worlds for her insatiable master to consume. And, I mean, we shall see. It's also possible that both characters are going to become the Silver Surfer. Now, the rumors and speculation, again, is that this is set in an alternate universe than Earth 616, which is what the Marvel Cinematic Universe is in. So that would explain why we haven't seen the Fantastic Four. And this Shalla-Bal being this version of the Silver Surfer can also further play into that this is not Earth 616. This could be where the Silver Surfer's origin plays out differently. Instead of Norrinrad making the bargain with Galactus, it's Shalla-Bal. So we could see that Norrinrad is on the planet Zenla or on another planet, just kind of going about his life, waiting for his love to come home. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens here. But we do know that she does exist in the comic books. There is a female fan. There is a female in the Fantastic Four that become in the Fantastic Four comics in the history. There is a female that becomes the Silver Surfer. So I want to kind of just break down and stick here for a second on how this happens, because it would mean that, so in the Earth X reality, Franklin Richards, as the new Galactus, bestowed on Shala Bal the same powers as Silver Surfer, enabling her to be with Silver Surfer as the second Silver Surfer. She died in battle against the Celestials, leaving Silver Surfer, Norrin Radd, devastated. So that's what I wanted to get to, is that her story in the 1999 alternate reality comic about Earth X, that's when we see her. So I want to dig into that a little bit here. So we meet her in 1968, like I said, in Silver Surfer #1 as the love interest. That's where she first appears. But again, like I said, she becomes, and Norrin Radd becomes, they become pawns of villains like Doctor Doom and Mephisto and Galactus. So she became the Silver Surfer here in the 1999 alternate reality comic Earth X by writer Jim Krager. I think it's Krager. And so co-creator and designer Alex Ross and interior artist John Paul Leon, which is about heroes finding the first rays of hope in an increasingly dystopian future. In that story, the original Galactus dies and is replaced by Franklin Richards, who uses his cosmic abilities to ascend into the form of Galactus. As the new Galactus, he reunites Norrin Radd and Shala Bal by imbuing her with the same power cosmic that transformed Norrin Radd into the Silver Surfer, with the pair sharing a cosmic surfboard as the two sentinels of the spaceways. So in that story where she becomes a Silver Surfer, she becomes it with Norrin Radd, and they have one board that they share. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. Now, Marvel has pointed to the original Galactus story, which is in 1966, which is Fantastic Four issues 48, 49, and 50, as a point of inspiration for the film, indicating that Julia Garner's Shala Bal, Silver Surfer, will play a similar role in the film that the Norrin Radd version of the character had in the comic story of them. So essentially them flipping roles, and we'll see what happens here, because if we're going to see Mephisto and we're going to see Doom, and Shala Bal is not going to die, then her and Norrin Radd can be used as pawns in the upcoming stories of the Fantastic Four and the greater stories of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as they do in the comics. So I know I spent a lot of time on that, but I knew nothing about Shala Bal. And when I first saw it, I was like, the only Silver Surfer that I know is Mal. The only one that I know is Norrin Radd. So I didn't know who the female Silver Surfer was. And when I don't know something, I have to educate myself. And I want to thank all of those that put in this incredible amount of work to let us know who Shala Bal is, because there's a lot to IGN working on this, fandom as well working on this, and giving us a breakdown of who Shala Bal truly is in Marvel. So I can't thank them enough, because I'm utilizing fandom, marvel.fandom.com, and in the inside of the Marvel database there on marvel.fandom.com to truly tell the story, and then from there to use other sites to accentuate that story on how she essentially became the Silver Surfer by taking a look at some story that was said beyond that. So pretty cool here to kind of just take a look at this, because I didn't know the story of the female Silver Surfer, and I didn't know that she was Norrin Radd's love interest. So that's really cool. So I'm excited to see her. When we look at the list on IMDb for the cast, we know that Pedro Pascal is Reed Richards, a.k.a. Mr. Fantastic. Vanessa Kirby is Sue Storm, a.k.a. the Invisible Woman. Joseph Quinn is Johnny Storm, the brother of Sue Storm, a.k.a. the Human Torch. And Eben Moss Backrack is Ben Grimm, a.k.a. the Thing. I told you Julia Garner is Shala Ball, the female Silver Surfer and love interest of Norrin Radd, but we don't know if we're going to see Norrin Radd in this. And we know that Ralph Ineson is voicing Galactus. We know Natasha Lyonne is going to show up in the movie in a role. We know Paul Walter Hauser is going to show up in a role. Sarah Niles will be in a role as well, and John Malkovich. Now, I'll get to Malkovich in just a little bit because there's some prognostication of what he's exactly going to be. So just so you know, I mean, that's the cast list. And so Natasha, Paul, John Malkovich, and Sarah Niles, none of them have who they are going to be in this movie. So there's no clarity here, and there's no other mention of anybody else's role in this Fantastic Four movie called Fantastic Four First Steps. The First Steps by Marvel Studios and Disney with the Fantastic Four, as they did not have the rights to the Fantastic Four cinematically or on the small screen for television. They did not have the rights over the years here. They got those rights when they made the deal with 20th Century Fox, which is now simply known as 20th Century. So, getting back to what we saw in this trailer, I want to get back to the pictures here. So this picture is what provoked me to spend all that time talking about Shala Ball, which is reminiscent for me of Chris Evans' Johnny Storm, a.k.a. the Human Torch, when he chased down the Silver Surfer and the Silver Surfer brought him out of the Earth's atmosphere, and we saw Johnny lose his powers and go falling toward the Earth. So I don't know if that is what's happening here in the female Silver Surfer, Shala Ball, doing this to this Johnny Storm that we have now, or if this is simply Johnny testing his powers. But he seems in distress here, or maybe a little bit concerned or worried. So either he's looking at the Silver Surfer right now, or maybe somebody, including the Silver Surfer, gave him this warning that something is coming. And then we get to see Johnny a couple times here as the Human Torch, looking very reminiscent to Chris Evans' Human Torch from his two Fantastic Four movies. So I can say that about the technology back then, is it looks similar. If I showed you this right now, you might think that this is from those Fantastic Four movies that were made by 20th Century Fox, because that part of it, the being on fire here, looks pretty much the same as what Chris Evans looked like, at least to me. And then we get to see the Invisible Woman here. We get to see her powers as Reed Richards. Obviously, his love interest is Sue Storm, and he is touching her face, and she's kind of like coming into focus and out of focus here. We see it better here with her powers, and we see the light around her here, because becoming invisible, she's essentially manipulating, prisms. She's manipulating light here, and she can use that manipulation of the light around her to protect other people, as well as to shoot energy blasts at people, essentially. So we get to see a really colorful look at her power here. And then we get to see the Fantastic Four, one of their vehicles here. And again, being set in the 60s, but they have this technology. So Reed is incredibly intelligent, and having all the smarts that he has, and the team having everything that they have, and then going to space and coming back with these powers, all of this makes 1960 look extremely futuristic. Like I said, they had artificial intelligence in the 60s of this movie, and here we are in 2025, and we're still learning in reality about artificial intelligence and if it's good, if it's not good, and how to use it. And then we see what we've been waiting for. Now, Galactus did show up in Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer that was made by 20th Century Fox. However, he only showed up in this sense of his traditional comic sense, where he has these kind of horns coming out the side and this giant head here. We saw this when his shadow came over a planet. But when they showed Galactus devouring a planet, he just looked like a giant cloud with like rocks and meteors around him. Which could be why we see that rocks and meteor picture of him coming into Earth's atmosphere. But this is staying true to who Galactus is supposed to look like. And then we go, okay, that's the shadow. We've seen a shadow before. And then we get to see more of him. But before we go there, this is the end picture here. And the question that I ask you here, is this just simply made? This picture itself specifically, was this scene, which comes at the end of the Fantastic Four, is this just a way of just kind of showing them? Is this Marvel's way of introducing them on a stage, essentially? Because this doesn't necessarily look like this is a part of the movie. This looks like this is Marvel just almost making them look like toys to buy, putting them out here. So I don't know if this scene's going to be in the movie. In my opinion, this kind of just looks like a way of saying, hey, the first family's here, and this is their stage. But as I said, we're like, okay, the shadow of Galactus, but what's he look like? Well, we don't see his back, or we don't see his front, but we see his back. And we see that he very much is comic book-esque here. You can kind of make out the top of his helmet here. And you almost wonder if that's like a landing thing, because he looks like a giant machine. And so this is kind of cool to look a little bit more at the top of his head. He is coming in here to the Statue of Liberty. So we know in this alternate universe, this alternate New York set back in the 60s, we still have the Statue of Liberty here. And seeing Galactus here, this is what I've been waiting for. I've been so excited. And all these like fan-made teaser trailers and whatnot, I'm like, okay, I want to know if we're actually going to see Galactus. Well, this is Marvel's official trailer here and a still shot of Galactus. And then we see this guy. We see John Malkovich. And the question becomes, who the heck is this guy? Who is he to the story? So, allegedly, some people are predicting that he is Ivan Kragoff of Earth 616, who becomes the Red Ghost. Again, going to Marvel's database on marvel.fandom.com, you can learn all about who the Red Ghost is. And I'll give a little bit of history here of Ivan Kragoff, so, and just what he has here. So, not much is known about the past life of Ivan Kragoff. We know that he's Russian. He was a Russian scientist with a strong loyalty to the USSR, so Soviet Union, right? And during the Cold War era, he had some involvement with Department X, the agency that was responsible for creating the Winter Soldier. So, now we're connecting all the way back to Cap and Bucky. So that's cool, because that's a part of the beginnings of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And now we have Ivan Kragoff, a guy in the USSR, who has a connection to Department X that was responsible for creating the Winter Soldier. So are we going to find out that Ivan Kragoff is one of the people that helped to bring about the Winter Soldier in the MCU? That's going to be cool. I'm excited for that. Now, he was, being a Russian scientist, he was also a devoted communist who studied the effects of cosmic rays on the human body based on research that was conducted on the Fantastic Four, a team of American adventurers who were mutated by cosmic rays during a space flight. Kragoff not only sought to replicate the conditions that gave the Fantastic Four their powers, but also to increase these abilities. So to take what they had been given and make it even more powerful, make himself more powerful. Building a ceramic ship that would expose the crew to an even more potent surge of cosmic rays, Ivan prepared a flight to the moon with 3 trained apes. Petor, the orangutan, Mikho, the gorilla, and Igor, the baboon. Passing through a cosmic ray belt, Ivan and his crew were mutated by the rays, and upon landing on the moon, he discovered that they were given fantastic powers. Peter developed control over magnetism, Mikho gained enhanced strength, and Igor became a shapeshifter. Ivan himself gained the ability to become intangible at will and decided to name himself the Red Ghost. and obviously red connecting back to communism and the Soviet Union. His flight coincided with the Fantastic Four's mission to the blue area of the moon to investigate its breathable atmosphere. The Red Ghost decided to pit his super apes against the Fantastic Four to prove that his country was superior to the United States. His attack on the Fantastic Four's thing aroused the attention of the Watcher, an alien who has been charged with recording human history for centuries, who we have seen now for 3 seasons on Disney Plus, and is part of the canon Marvel Cinematic Universe. The Watcher that we have seen in multiple seasons of What If. So now he's connected to the Watcher and connected to Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier, Captain America, the Cold War, America versus communism and the Soviet Union. Interesting here. So, looking at this, Uatu allowed the Fantastic Four and Red Ghost and his super apes to fight out their differences on the moons. During the course of the battle, the Fantastic Four noted how Red Ghost withheld food from his apes in order to force them to do his bidding and used this to turn his apes against him. With the Red Ghost defeated, the Fantastic Four returned home to Earth, stranding the Russian scientist on the moon to fend for himself against his angry apes. So we'll see what happens here. Now, this will be interesting. The Red Ghost gave up his super apes for a time, and as a prolonged after effect of passing through the Watcher's dimensional gate, the Red Ghost lost his ability to become intangible. He also began training new apes that had no superhuman abilities, naming them Alpha and Beta. Following his last defeat at the hands of the armored hero Iron Man, the Unicorn, the villain, passed out outside of the Red Ghost's hideout. So the Unicorn did, I guess. The Red Ghost then convinced the Unicorn that he could cure him of his deadly affliction. In exchange for the supposedly life-saving injections, the Unicorn agreed to steal Stark Industries' latest invention, the Cosmic Ray, which the Red Ghost believed could not only restore his lost powers, but boost them to even greater levels. The Unicorn succeeded in recovering the Cosmic Ray, but Tony Stark pursued the Unicorn in his armored alter ego, Iron Man. A battle then broke out in the Red Ghost's hideout, located beneath an abandoned mining town. While the Unicorn and Iron Man fought, the Red Ghost used the Cosmic Ray to boost his powers, gaining the ability to transform into a red mist. He also exposed Alpha and Beta to the Cosmic Ray, boosting their intelligence, giving Alpha enhanced strength and Beta the ability of mind control. Red Ghost then set his base to self-destruct and left Iron Man and the Unicorn to die while he escaped. The Red Ghost fled to South Africa, where he sent his new super apes to gather an army of primates to assist him in invading a SHIELD satellite tracking facility. The facility easily fell to the Red Ghost's attack, and he soon began using the equipment there to build a massive ultra-cosmic ray intensifier to mutate his army of apes. He was opposed by Iron Man and Unicorn, who teamed up to defeat the Red Ghost as the battle raged. Alpha and Beta suddenly turned on their master, deciding they would no longer be enslaved by a human again, destroyed his devices. Unicorn, unaware that the Red Ghost was unable to actually cure him, then absconded with his erstwhile companion. Iron Man was unable to follow after him due to damage done to his armor during the battle. Soon the Unicorn discovered that the Red Ghost did not have the ability to cure him and abandoned him, apparently without issue. Having given up on apes, he began experimenting on using cosmic rays to control the minds of porpoises and other intelligent marine life. Perfecting his craft, the Red Ghost made his technology available to the Atlantean barbarian known as Atuma. Needing additional research from a marine biologist named Dr. Jennings, Atuma went to the surface to capture the scientist in Atlantic City. This led a clash between the Hulk, Valkyrie, and the Submariner of the Defenders and their ally Hawkeye, and so that connects him to the Avengers and so on and so forth. So the Red Ghost is an interesting dude who decides, I want to have the power that the Fantastic Four have, but I don't want to have the power that they have. I want to have a power greater than the power they have. Then he loses that power, and when he tries to get the power, he brings apes with him, and they get the power. And then they lose the power, and he loses the power, and then he gets more apes, and he gets them the power, and he gets him the power, and then the apes rebel against him again, and then he goes to marine life. And Atuma, we get to see in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which is Black Panther 2. So now the question becomes, so this Ivan Kragoff character, who again, I knew nothing about as a kid and had to look up this guy and learn I mean, seeing John Malkovich, I'm like, who is this dude? And then a lot of people said, oh, he might be the Red Ghost. So I can't take credit for that prediction if it comes true. But looking at the story of the Red Ghost, he's connected to the Avengers. Okay, he's connected to Iron Man. He's connected to Captain America. He's connected to Bucky Barnes. He's connected to the USSR and the Soviet Union. He's connected to, obviously, with Bucky, the Winter Soldier and the creating of the Winter Soldier. He is connected to the Fantastic Four. He's connected to the Submariner. He's connected to Atuma. He's connected to Black Panther, potentially, if this all stays true in the MCU. So this character that's off the beaten path, Ivan Kragoff, could end up being this Red Ghost, could end up being a huge villain in the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe if they don't kill off their villains like they're known to do. He can end up being a huge piece of this because he, believe it or not, is something that intertwines so many different characters for so many parts of Earth 616 in the MCU. Pretty crazy, pretty insane, but I read through it with you, and here we are. So very much a character that I did not know, but we all need to get to know. So we'll see what happens here in this, but once again, breaking down this teaser trailer and taking a look at a lot of different things for you. Keep in mind that the first appearance and origin of Doctor Doom is in Fantastic Four #5, which came out in Marvel in 1962. I would be very surprised if we don't see Doctor Doom because we're setting up Avengers Doomsday. Obviously, Robert Downey Jr. is the center of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and was an integral part of a decade of movies, which started with Iron Man, Marvel Studios' first shot at doing their own thing with their own studio, not going to another studio to essentially produce their film. So I would be shocked if we don't see Robert Downey Jr., Doctor Doom, in a mid-credit scene, an end-credit scene, or at some point within this thing that he might be watching this entire time while this is going. And will we see the Watcher? Will we finally see the Watcher in live action after seeing the Watcher in the What If series? Will we finally get to see that? I know we're going to hear two booming voices. I know that because Ralph Ineson, who is playing Galactus, right, we get to hear his voice. And then the voice of the Watcher in the What If series, we hear the voice of Jeffrey Wright, who I got to see. First time I saw Jeffrey Wright was inside of the M. Night Shyamalan films. So we're going to have Jeffrey Wright and Ralph Ineson maybe in the same movie. That's just a little prediction, a little low-key thing for me. With the Watcher being involved in What If and all of these seasons going on, and the Watcher being involved in the multiverse. So if this is a different Earth from a different universe than Earth 616, and all the What If series is about the multiple different realities and the multiverse, if the Watcher has to do with all of that, why would you make all these What If series, then have the Fantastic Four coming out, and if they're in a different universe, and What If is about all these different universes, and the Red Ghost is connected to the Watcher, who's connected to the show, who's connected to these different universes, and the Fantastic Four have to essentially flee their Earth and flee their universe to come into Earth 616, then why not have the Watcher? It's a thought. It's definitely a thought. A lot to take away. You didn't think there was this much to take away from a couple minutes of footage, did you? But there is. So we broke it down here on Superpowered Pop with Dan Tortora, proudly inside of the Parker Banner Kent and Wayne studios. Go to Parker Banner Kent and Wayne for your comic book and gaming needs every single day of the week, 7 days a week, on 21500 Catawba Ave, Suite A in Cornelius, North Carolina, just outside of Charlotte. For now, remember that your hero lies within.